Hello, everyone, and many thanks for joining today's stream and the second news update for a day for 25th of February. It is 5 p.m. Moscow time in the afternoon, and as always, I have prepared quite a number of news on some major developments, and I hope you will find news segment informative and useful. And in case you want to support my work and simultaneously want to highlight certain topic and have a discussion about it after the news segment, you're more than welcome to send your topic through support platforms, PayPal, Boosty, or through Super Chat on Rumble. You know I'm streaming on both my channels simultaneously on YouTube and Rumble. Links are under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. And in case you don't know, this morning I published another first update, basically, another video in the walk and talker style. I went through several streets, also boulevard. It was nice morning walk, really. I enjoy myself walking around and making the updates. And even though video only has like 800 views by now, many members of community who watched her enjoyed actually the scenery, and that makes me happy, of course. If you have a time, dear friends, check out that first update. It is on my both channels on YouTube and Rumble. Okay, that's been said. Let's go through some news now, and well, let's start with this report from RT about yet another tragedy. Unfortunately, I mean, too often, news segments are beginning with their negative information because their media field is packed with the negative developments. And we have this report that 7 civilians were killed as a result of Ukrainian strike on Russian plant in Smolensk region. Let me give you details on that. So 7 civilians have been killed and there are at least 10 others injured in a Ukrainian drone raid on a chemical plant in Smolensk region, western Russia. The country's investigative committee reported on Wednesday. The agency stated that their Kiev regime's military used at least 30 drones, 30 by the way, in their attack on the facility. The strike was previously reported by Smolensk governor Vasily Anokhin on social media, stating that Ukrainian forces targeted Dorogobush plant, which produces nitrogen fertilizer, and that several employees tragically died while performing their professional duties. Those injured in the attack have been taken into a healthcare facility, governor said. So yet another tragedy that occurred because of the Western elites, collective West basically, and their proxy terrorist regime in Kiev. 7 civilians being killed and at least 10 civilians injured. And when it comes to this long-range drone attacks orchestrated by NATO member states, in today's first update, I shared information that past night, for example, 69 drones were intercepted by Russian forces. 24 drones out of these 69 were intercepted in Bryansk region, 18 over the Crimea, 14 over the Smolensk. So Smolensk region was targeted. Again, 3 drones each were destroyed over the Tula and Ariol regions, as well as over the Black Sea. 1 drone each was neutralized over the Kursk, Kaluga, and Belgorod regions, and over the Moscow region. Also, you can notice that there is a slight decrease in these long-range attacks on Russia in past 24 to 48 hours. Slight decrease. That might be indicator that Kiev regime and its NATO backers may be running out of stocks of these long-range drones, and I guess this decrease in long-range attacks will continue for next several days, and then we will see rapid increase in drone attacks again, like it was about a week ago when in 24 hours the regime was launching, with the assistance of NATO, 500 plus drones. And nowadays Kiev regime is also more and more actively deploying these Flamingo long-range cruise missiles. That is a British missile, basically. Assembly lines might be on the Kiev control territory, but weapon system itself is a British one. And I wonder when Moscow will address this issue, because it makes no sense if we ignore this reality that London is directly involved in the killing of the Russian citizens, in mass killing of the Russian citizens. I mean, because everyone understands what is going on after all, right? Let's continue with some other news. And well, when it comes to terrorist activity of London, British ruling class, British intelligence and militaries, yesterday, Russian Foreign Intelligence Service shared with the public information that London and Paris, UK, leadership of UK and France, their militaries, their intelligence, engaged in a massive terrorist plot against the Russian Federation while planning to transfer nuclear weapons to Kiev regime. I reported about it, of course, in my previous updates, and many high-ranking Russian officials, state institutions condemn, of course, this development. Made very strong statements were made from Moscow, and not just from Moscow, but also Russian permanent representative in UN spoke about this matter, and that is reporting on this issue. Russia has warned France and UK that alleged plans to provide Kiev with the nuclear capabilities could trigger severe global consequences, accusing the Western European powers at the UN Security Council of pursuing dangerous escalation in the Ukraine conflict. Russia's permanent representative to the UN, Vasily Nebezhny, accused Kiev's European backers on Tuesday of openly prioritizing Moscow's strategic defeat while derailing any prospects for peace in Ukraine. The envoy pointed to an emergency statement issued earlier by Russian Foreign Intelligence Service, SVR, alleging that the UK and France are considering transfers of components, technology, and equipment enabling Kiev to develop either nuclear device or dirty bomb. SVR actually was quite specific that it's UK and France that are developing everything, right? Kiev regime will just take the blame on itself while giving the London and Paris a plausible deniability. That's their idea behind this terrorist plot, right? But Kiev regime itself are unable to develop nuclear weapons. Otherwise, it would already develop one. So it's totally UK and France behind this terrorist plot, and it is obviously a good development that a necessary development that Russian high-ranking officials from Moscow and on international level are informing the world community about this criminal activity of the London and Paris, extremely dangerous activity of the London and Paris. But question is, will these statements have any influence on plans that British and French ruling class and their globalist masters have? Many of us probably are skeptical that statements will do the job, and if not, for that case, probably Moscow is working on some additional steps that will be more persuasive. That will make sense if this is the case. So share your take, dear friends, what you think about all these developments in past several days. I spoke about the matter so much that I don't really have much to add, right? I predicted a long time ago that Western ruling class eventually, as one of their scenarios for the next phase of escalation, will push for a transformation of Kiev regime, this Western-backed terrorist regime in Kiev, into a nuclear-armed regime. And yesterday, this prediction of mine was confirmed basically as a correct one by Russian Foreign Intelligence Service, even if at the time very many members of our community were very skeptical about my predictions, as it is the case quite often, by the way, right? People sometimes forgetting that I grew up in journalism, by the way, right? And work with their information is my field. That's what I do professionally, right? And it is understandable that when I see certain connections, right, between different developments, not everyone might see it, but every now and then, instead of asking some additional questions to understand better why I am predicting this or that, all I see is just a criticism. Okay, I mean, criticism is good, nothing wrong with that. But you see, we can criticize, but after some time realize that, well, you are wrong, and I was right. Anyways, TASS news agency is reporting, and I think this news is also somewhat relevant, because one thing is to develop nuclear device, second is to deliver, right? And to deliver on a maximum range without using intercontinental ballistic missiles, for example. And one of their such weapon systems that NATO countries, especially in Europe, have is Taurus cruise missiles, right? That have a range of 500 plus kilometers. And for those missiles, if launched from Kiev-controlled territory, Moscow basically is in reach. And there was numerous talks, numerous rumors about these German cruise missiles that are capable of carrying nuclear weapons. This is very important. Very serious, trustworthy sources, including in alternative media, in the past have shared information that, based on of their knowledge and their sources, Taurus missiles were actually transferred already to Kiev-controlled territory. And I believe at some point, a few months ago, even Russian security services shared similar information that German Chancellor Merz, if you remember, there was a report, and I also reported about it, that German Chancellor Merz ordered a manufacturer in Germany of these Taurus missiles to delay all the signs on the Taurus missiles, on the details, fragments of these missiles, all the signs of its place of production. And such missiles allegedly were transferred to Kiev-controlled territory. That's what was in open sources, right? And now, maybe this is a random coincidence, maybe not, but straight after Russian SVR made information public about this nuclear terrorist plot of London and Paris, media reported about statements of German defense minister who denied that Taurus missiles will be or was transferred to Kiev regime, which is quite interesting, especially because Taurus actually is a nuclear capable missile. So German defense minister Boris Pistorius has confirmed that Berlin will not send Taurus cruise missiles to Kiev. I can give you a quote: Taurus, I can repeat it again, will not resolve and will not end this war, he told their Deutschlander Funk radio. Earlier, similar statement was made by Merz, but yet again, publicly. But yet again, we should keep in mind that Russian security services said that Merz privately told the manufacturer to delete any signs on fragments of these missiles of their origin. And you know, by the way, whenever anything is built for military purpose or not, a manufacturer always marks details, always. This is a standard procedure, isn't it? So for whatever reason, German Defense Minister Pistorius find it necessary to make such a statement that they have not sent and will not send Taurus cruise missiles to Kiev-controlled territory. Okay, by the way, but what about ones that already been sent? Are they going to take those Taurus missiles back? I don't know. Just something to think about, actually. Also, when it comes to special military operation itself, dear friends, according to number of sources, Russian militaries liberated settlement of Grafska in the Kharkov region. Well, I did predict that it will not take longer before Grafska will be liberated, and that's exactly what happened after establishing control over the Semyonovka, about which I have reported in my previous update. It was logical that Russian troops will clear this massive forestry area that you see right now on your screen. That's exactly what happened, and eventually Russian troops entered the Grafska settlement itself on the left bank of Seversky Donets. This is, I believe, Seversky Donets, that's correct, Seversky Donets River, and this settlement is under complete Russian control. Next stage of Russian offensive in this direction, logically, will be Verkhnya Pisarovka settlement, but if you take a look, dear friends, this settlement is very closely linked to Rubezhne settlement, and to make sure that our enemy would not be able to transfer weapons and munition and supplies of any kind to Kiev regime's garrison in Verkhnya Pisarevka. I think Russian troops first will move on the right bank of the Seversky Donets River towards Izbitskaya settlement, towards Chernovaya settlement. Basically, this forestry will be encircled, cleared from hostile troops, and after that, probably Russian troops will simultaneously begin operation towards Rubezhne and this another one, Verkhnya Pisarevka, from both banks of the Seversky Donets River. It makes sense. I'm not military expert, but it will make sense. Frontal assault on Verkhnya Pisarevka right now, when there is still some logistical lines between two settlements, will be extremely risky. There is a bridge here, by the way, that is destroyed already for quite a while. But in this area, this river is not too wide, and building pontoon bridges wouldn't be that difficult. So I think Russian troops first will take care of this forestry surrounding small villages, and then we will see offensive operation in Rubezhne, Verkhnya Pisarevka area. But liberation of Grafska is definitely significant progress of the Russian troops in Volchansk area, Kharkov direction. Of course, initiative is in Russian hands. Strategical initiative, of course, is in Russian hands all along the front line. And despite constant, this local scale counterattacks or suicidal operations of the Kiev regime's forces, there is not a slightest chance even that either Kiev regime or their Western backers will be able to regain initiative on any of the sectors. It's not happening, not possible. Earlier, dear friends, I reported yesterday, actually, I reported about another settlement, Rizdyanka, that was liberated by Russian forces in Zaporozhye region. Let me show you this settlement. This is the eastern flank of Zaporozhye sector. On the northern side, I believe, of Guliai-Pole. So this is Guliai-Pole itself, and on the northern western side is this Rizdvyanka settlement, which is under Russian control. And some military experts went as far as to say that Kiev regime's defense lines are about to completely collapse on Zaporozhye sector. That's how important, allegedly, according to some military experts, this advance of the Russian troops in Rizdvyanka area is. But again, I'm not military expert, and based on what I see on the map, I honestly don't see these predictions of the military experts to be realistic at this particular point. But once Russian troops will cut off main supply and support lines of the Kiev regime's Orekhov garrison from west and eastern pincer, with the western and eastern pincers that you see right now in your screen with these gray zone areas. At that point, yes, we can argue that Kiev regime's defense lines are about to crack and potentially completely collapse on Zaporozhye sector. It will take maybe another 2-3 weeks, I guess, before we will be at that point to expect collapse of Kiev regime's defense lines, or significant cracks, by the way, in Kiev regime's defense lines in Zaporozhye sector, on the southern part of Zaporozhye sector at least. Of course, there is a major battle ahead of Russian militaries, which is administrative center of the region, Zaporozhye city itself, which is mainly located on the left bank of the Dnieper River, which is a plus, of course, because Kiev regime will have significant difficulties, and their NATO backers, they will have significant difficulties in terms of logistics once Russian troops will begin offensive on Zaporozhye city itself. But still, there is some time before we will see this offensive, despite the fact that the forward units of the Russian armed forces on the most western flank of the Zaporozhye sector are about like 15 kilometers away from Zaporozhye, maybe 10-12 kilometers away, even, right, from both southern outskirts of the city. But nevertheless, still quite a way to go in a direction. And also in a DPR difference, earlier I reported that Russian troops entered Lipovka settlement and were conducting clearing operation here. No updates if clearing operation was finalized or not. Lipovka is bordering with this big forestry, and of course it will take some time before Russian troops will finalize clearing operation, not necessarily in Lipovka itself, but in this forestry, right? It's winter conditions, movement is extremely difficult. You can imagine how easy it's going to be for FPV drones with their thermal vision to spot you if you are moving around in a snowy place in the winter, right? You're gonna be seen on the thermal vision camera like bright spot. So therefore, I can understand that liberation or clearing operation of this forestry will take some time, but advance itself of the Russian troops is very significant. And Russian militaries are on daily basis getting closer and closer to last major stronghold of the Kiev regime in the DPR, truly major ones. That is Slavyansk-Kramatorsk. Defensive infrastructure in this area were built by Kiev regime and their NATO allies since 2014, basically. After the coup d'etat, Kiev regime, those Nazis and the fascists that West put in a position of power in Kiev, they launched a war against Donbass, people of Donbass, and yes, they're once they recapture Slavyansk. Initially, you remember, dear friends, Slavyansk was liberated by resistance forces of Donbass, but they were unable to hold on to the city. And once this fascist regime in Kiev recaptured Slavyansk, they began a massive buildup of defensive fortifications there. And It's going to be hard battle for sure. A liberation of this last major stronghold of the Kiev regime, Kramatorsk-Slaviansk. But Russian troops will do it. Of course, Russian troops will do it, by the way. Let's continue with some other news. Well, it is interesting that RIA Novosti reported today, based on information from Kiev-controlled territory, that Kiev regime is claiming now that they began fortifying Odessa city and the entire region for defensive operations, which is quite interesting. They are expecting, I guess, that Russian troops soon gonna arrive in Odessa region. Otherwise, why would they even talk about this matter, right? So Ukrainian Air Forces are preparing for a perimeter defense of the Odessa region. This was stated by Denis Nosikov, head of the Kiev regime's operational tactical group Odessa. So it's an official statement. According to him, defenses are being actively built around the region, anti-tank ditches, minefields, and the traps. This is a very complex system of various fortifications, engineering barriers. These are the same kill zones, traps, snares the military added. In addition, the militaries teach local residents how to handle weapons and recruit reserves from those unfit for service. Well, those locals gonna turn those weapons on Kiev regime tax whenever they will have first opportunity of that, because you know, dear friends, Odessa is a Russian city, Odessa region is a Russian region, and locals are, I guess, can't wait until Russian liberators will arrive. It is the case in Dnipropetrovsk, it is the case in Kharkov, by the way. Basically, there is only Western Ukraine, right? Western Ukraine, where people actually were brainwashed on such a scale that they no longer see themselves as a part of the Russian world, and they truly hate us all. Many of them, I would not say all of them, but many of them in Western Ukraine. But when it comes to the rest of the territory, give their people opportunity to choose where they want to be under the fascist regime or with their brothers and sisters here in Russia, they will, of course, choose to be with us, 100%, by the way. And, well, when it comes to this particular information about building some fortifications in Odessa, I think Russian troops will arrive in Odessa when Kiev regime's armed forces will completely collapse. So they're going to be little to no resistance at that point. So Russian militaries will just overtake these fortifications in many cases without any fight at all. Quite sure about it. But fact itself that Kiev regime is preparing Odessa region, Kiev regime and its NATO backers are preparing Odessa region for a fight is quite telling on its own, right? Also, I think this is interesting information that Russian arms maker reports kamikaze drone milestone. Okay, so Russian arms maker Kalashnikov, this is a corporation, by the way, that makes AKs, world famous AKs, right? AK rifles. But they are doing business also in many other fields, including drones, kamikaze drones among them. And so Russian arms maker Kalashnikov has announced a new addition to Kub loitering munition family, describing it as the first Russian weapon of its class with a range of exceeding 100 kilometers. Large fixed-wing drones can have ranges of 1,000 kilometers. According to a report, the Kub-10ME, developed by Kalashnikov drone subsidiary, is a tactical-level weapon designed to strike unarmed and lightly armed targets near the front line. Well, I mean, 100 kilometers distance or range, I would say that's way beyond front line, right? Way beyond front line reach. So Kalashnikov currently produces free Kub loitering munition with ranges between 25 and 90 kilometers. The new model revealed on Wednesday is comparable to Israeli Elbit Sky Striker and Germany's Rheinmetall FV-014 guided weapons, filling the same military niche. The manufacturer said their CUB-10ME features improved electro-optical guidance systems and enhanced protection against electronic warfare. It was developed in a record short time based on experience with loitering munition in the current conflict. So yes, good news for Russian militaries, obviously. And my dear friends, after this conflict will end, you can imagine how many militaries worldwide will tune in to order to purchase a lot of Russian weapons. Among them, of course, there will be extremely high demand on Russian drones, drone technology, and knowledge how to use those drones. Because one thing is to have a drone, and another is to actually know how to operate with these weapon systems in circumstances when, for example, your hostile side is developing or deploying serious level radio electronic warfare and the rest of their stuff, right? So once this conflict will end, Russian military industrial complex is gonna have a high days, man. They will probably receive purchases for tens of billions of dollars for next 10, 15, 20 years to just work without like 24/7, right? Understandably so, because world is watching and everyone understands that modern warfare, current conflict, changed the phase of the modern warfare greatly. And currently there is only few militaries in this world that actually have knowledge how to conduct this modern warfare. One is Russian, and another one is Kiev regime's forces, actually, right? That are going to be neutralized eventually, right? So there will be, once this conflict will end, there will be only Russian militaries that will actually have a best possible knowledge on the matter of modern warfare. Meanwhile, Hungary continues to take some steps to defend itself against Ukrainian terrorists, against Western-backed terrorist regime in Kiev. And the prime minister of the country, Viktor Orban, stated that his country will deploy military to energy sites to protect against Ukraine, against potential Ukrainian attacks. I mean, this is massive, isn't it? I don't know if Western media reported even a single word about this situation between Hungary and the Kiev regime, but Budapest is clearly getting extremely wary, and for a reason, dear friends, Kiev regime already conducted terrorist attacks on energy infrastructure of the Hungary, on an oil refinery that was linked to Druzhba oil pipeline. And God knows what other terrorist activity was conducted by Kiev regime and has not yet been revealed by Hungarian secret services or their officials. So Budapest has every reason to be cautious, and they are deploying militaries now on energy sites. Also, Prime Minister warned Kiev is planning further disruption and announced a drone flight ban near the Ukrainian border. So I guess there will be set perimeter will be set up some 10 kilometers from the border deep into Hungary, 10, 15 kilometers, if not more. And any drone operations in that area will be banned. Any drone operations by anybody except Hungarian militaries and security services. Right step, obviously, on part of Budapest, but better Hungarian militaries and security services prepare for actual combat because it's only a matter of time when they will have to engage the Ukrainian Nazis and the fascists in real combat, in a close range combat. It's just a matter of time. Iran, of course, Iran, by the way, we have to talk about Iran again. Unfortunately, not in a positive light, because this one of the oldest civilizations in human history is facing existential threat from collective West, you know, and yesterday Trump did try to sell war on Iran to Congress during his speech, so-called Union speech, State Union address, and probably he succeeded with that, because you know what kind of people are in the Congress. Mostly puppets of military-industrial complex, puppets of Zionists. Vast majority of U.S. lawmakers are financed by AIPAC, and you know what AIPAC is. And so Trump did not really needed too much effort to convince Congress that they're gonna go with the war on Iran. They are already in support of it, and if Trump will backtrack now, you will see this very Congress probably will impeach him for that. I mean, not necessarily for not going in, on a war against Iran, but they will come up with something, right? Epstein files or whatever. They will come up with something and they will impeach him. And Trump knows that, I guess. Trump knows that if he will refuse to obey orders from his sponsors, Zionists and all the others, he is finished. And so he went into Congress, makes some pretty much nonsensical speech. I listened to some fragments, by the way. How anybody could listen to this guy for more than, I don't know, a couple of minutes, I don't know, right? And at one point, while selling this war on Iran, he said that Iran has not yet promised to give up nuclear weapons. And I mean, what can I comment on that, dear friends? Right? What can I comment on that? Iran has no nuclear weapons to give it up, right? Iran has no military nuclear program to give it up. Iranian leadership was very clear for many, many years that they have no intention to build a nuclear weapon. And the only reason why they enrich uranium up to 60% is to have a latent nuclear deterrent. And now they know that this latent nuclear deterrent didn't actually work, because Israel and US bombed Iran anyways. And because Iran has no intent to build nuclear weapons, therefore it makes no sense for them to keep this high level of enrichment. And that's why Tehran is sending messages that they are ready to discuss topic of the enrichment of the uranium. And they are ready to downgrade this enrichment up, approximately around 20% from current 60, because 20% is needed for some scientific research, some medical instruments, and so on, right? While 3 to 5% enrichment is needed for nuclear power plants, for reactors in nuclear power plants. So Tehran is sending clear messages that they are ready to talk about this enrichment matter, if American side is serious. And according to reports, tomorrow on 26th of February, there will be next round of negotiations in Geneva with the mediation of Oman. And according to earlier statements of Abbas Araghchi, foreign minister of Iran, they will present their draft about nuclear deal, in which probably they will share detailed information about all the topics in which they can actually compromise. Question is what Washington wants. Are they serious about these negotiations? And of course, we all know what the answer is. They are not serious about it. All these negotiations, as it was during the or before U.S.-Israeli attacks on Iran, these negotiations are just an attempt, deception operation on part of Washington, while Pentagon is preparing for a war and deploying as much military assets as they possibly can in and around the Middle East. And once Trump is briefed by Pentagon that, well, they did whatever they could, well, they bring everything they can, and well, they're good to go. Very next day, Trump probably will say that, well, Iran disagree on our terms and they are not serious about negotiations, so therefore we launched military operation. That's what's gonna happen. We'll understand this, right? We'll understand this. But as I already said, the Iranian government confirmed talks with the U.S. in Geneva on February 2026. And I can understand why, even though Iranian leadership knows perfectly well, I mean, they should know perfectly well that U.S. is not serious about these talks. Of course, with these negotiations, they are also kind of gaining some time to better prepare for incoming attack, right? And on this matter of U.S. attack on Iran, on daily basis, we have more and more reports about deployment of more and more assets, military assets of U.S. in and around the Middle East. And for example, we have this report that all U.S. Air Force's F-22 Raptors that were stationed at the Royal Air Force Base in Lakenheath have left the UK and are reportedly already in Israel on their airbase in Israel. And this is quite interesting because Israel is in range of Iranian missiles, Iranian ballistic missiles. Maybe Pentagon is too confident in Israeli air defenses. Probably they hope that Israeli air defenses will manage to intercept all the missiles, right? That will probably try to target this and many other air bases there, or bases. This overconfidence might turn out to be a fatal mistake on part of Pentagon, but nevertheless, they are deploying everything they have, man. U.S. militaries are deploying whatever they can, 2 aircraft carriers that barely capable of anything really, right? On one of them, according to rumors, by the way, sailors are drowning in human feces, kind of. Can you imagine how that Gerald Ford, $30 billion aircraft carrier, stinks? Can you imagine that? No freaking toilet is operational there. It's a total mess, right? And that aircraft carrier is stationed in a Crete now. And once this technical job will be done on the toilets, probably Pentagon will move that aircraft carrier towards the Cyprus, area, right? But nevertheless, all this deployment of military assets still, I think, is not enough to achieve all the tasks that Western ruling class is giving to U.S. leadership. And these tasks are first and foremost to create power vacuum in Iran and to descend Iran into civil war. I know very many people, by the way, including experts in field of alternative media, on a position that Western and Israel, they want a regime change in Iran. But I have to disagree with this opinion. For regime change, they don't really need this much firepower for simple regime change. They don't really need this much firepower. So you tell me why US has deployed around 300 planes in and around Middle East, 300 plus planes, on top of 200 plus, around 300 planes that Israel has, plus whatever UK has in the region, in Cyprus and in the region. Why so much firepower if all they plan is simple regime change, elimination of political military leadership in Tehran, and implementation of some friendly regime led by whomever, Reza Pahlavi, son of former Shah, or whomever. Why would they bring so much assets? Because it's not about regime change. They cannot say it openly, of course, but in reality, what they want is to eliminate any existence of the state institutions throughout Iran, throughout all the provinces, right? All the provinces where majority are Persians and they're Azerbaijanis. They might spare province areas where predominantly Kurdish people are living. That would be northern parts, western parts of Iran. They might also spare areas where Belujis are living in eastern Iran, on a border with Afghanistan and Pakistan, for example. But rest, where majority are Persian and Azerbaijanis, well, on the rest of the territory, and this is a massive territory, by the way, bigger than France, to have an understanding what's going on rest of this territory, they want to obliterate any existence of the statehood, right? That means all the local authorities, all the local institutions, everything has to be erased to create true power vacuum and basically force these two major ethnic groups, Persians and Azerbaijanis, to get engaged in a bloody civil war, bloody struggle to fulfill this power vacuum. Chances that they will succeed in this, to provoke war between these nation builder ethnic groups, in case of Iranian civilization, is very little, but theoretically they can do it. But to succeed, they have to obliterate any presence of state throughout the provinces, right, where Persians and Azerbaijanis are living. Persians mainly are living in central southern Iran, and Azerbaijanis mainly in central and northern Iran, right? And so you tell me now, what kind of firepower you actually need to obliterate any existence of state institutions throughout this massive area? You need everything you have. If you are US, you need literally everything you have, right? And that's why I'm saying, by the way, the deployment of 2 aircraft carriers, deployment of 150 to 200 ground-based planes throughout the Middle East, and who knows what they have deployed in Diego Garcia, for example, right? Who knows what they have deployed in Azerbaijan, for example, or in Armenia. I remind you, dear friends, that just recently, J.D. Vance, vice president of US, was traveling in Armenia and Azerbaijan, and I'm quite sure one of the main topics of discussion was incoming US attack on Iran and how US can use these two republics of former Soviet Union, Armenia and Azerbaijan, and their territories. And I would not be surprised at all to learn that US actually deployed some of its assets, military assets, CIA assets in both these republics. Drone operators, for example, and drones themselves. Would not be surprised at all. But still, in my understanding, US has not enough assets yet in the region. They need twice more, at least twice more. And their logistical lines that will allow American militaries, together with their allies, to sustain this high intensity war against Iran for at least 2-3 months, unending, non-stop, by the way. And that's why I'm saying, by the way, I'm not sure US can actually come up with such a force. I don't think they can actually sustain such a scale of high intensity aerial campaign for 2-3 months on end. And one wave of missile strikes, two wave of air strikes, 5 waves, 10 waves, not gonna do, not gonna achieve what the task of the US is, or US leadership, based on orders of the Western ruling class to create this total power vacuum there. Right, so I don't know, we will find out, but I'm really skeptical about this regime change topic. They don't want no regime change. They want to engulf entire Iran and then entire region into war, right? And they want to shut down navigation in the Persian Gulf and through Hormuz Strait. That's what they want. And based on what I see by now, I have some doubts that US actually is capable of pulling this, US militaries. They can't. They are very much able to harm Iran tremendously. So much so that recovery might take decades, full recovery. But to create power vacuum, to descend this country into civil war and that kind of stuff, to erase any elements of the statehood throughout their Iranian provinces, for this, US has not enough firepower right now, and I don't think they can bring like twice more. I don't think they can double down on their military assets that they have already sent. On paper, they have everything, but in reality, this is, I guess, maximum that they can come up with, and that's why I think either today or tomorrow. I mean, in upcoming days, I don't know, today, tomorrow, day after, or whatever. But I think there will be some talks between Washington and London about deployment of British aircraft carrier or aircraft carriers. UK has 2, right? So probably UK will be involved big time in this whole story, and maybe US actually will demand assistance from Italy. Italy also has aircraft carrier, by the way. Maybe US will demand assistance from Italy, assistance from France, Germany, to deploy as much firepower as they possibly can. And this build-up, in that case, build-up before they will actually go ahead with attacks on Iran, this build-up might take place another month or even more. And let's keep in mind, dear friends, that now, when in European part of Eurasian continent is winter, it's a cool weather also in the Middle East, relatively cool weather in the Middle East. When it's summertime, by the way, it's tremendously hot, right? And for ground operation, US would, of course, prefer winter to attack, but because they're going to be no massive ground invasion from American side, at least, right? Saudis, they might provoke Saudis to attack Iran, but US, at least for now, did not really deploy much of its ground forces. So therefore, from a Western perspective, it makes sense to launch this massive campaign against Iran in the spring, close to summer, because you can imagine what will happen throughout Iran if all their water supplies, all the infrastructure is demolished, including medical infrastructure and their water supplies. if there is not enough, no high enough level in terms of sanitation, clean water supplies, medical infrastructure, you can imagine that all sorts of disease might overtake entire region, right? And actually, Western elites might use disease as also as an additional weapon on top of everything that they plan to create this total chaos and their power vacuum there. Everything is possible. And by the way, you can imagine humanitarian disaster, total humanitarian disaster once Western world and Israel will go ahead with this attack on Iran. Hundreds of thousands, millions of people from Iran probably will move throughout the region, right? Many people will try to move towards Turkey, and Ankara already stated that in case of destabilization of Iran, in case of a Western attack on Iran, they will create a buffer zone inside the Iran to avoid basically hundreds of thousands, potentially millions of people, refugees crossing our Turkish border. Armenia and Azerbaijan might try to do the same. Both are bordering Iran, of course, but at some point, by the way, of course, they will have to open borders, and all the other neighbors of Iran will have to open border, and you can imagine it's millions and millions of people moving throughout the region. It's gonna be hell on earth, man. In Iran and in the region. That's what West plans. That's what Western ruling class plans, and well, let's hope they will fail. Let's hope they will fail, by the way, because those genocidal maniacs have to be stopped, man. If anything, humanity should get together, get united, and confront those Western elites, or that evil force, and never should cheer for them to succeed in anything, because that's their plans. That's how evil they are. So anyways, we will find out, man. We will find out. Right now, my reading of the big picture may not be understandable for many people. Okay. And I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong. And all Western world wants is just simple regime change and friendly government there in Iran, but in my understanding, this is just too naive to think that way, right? Things are much more dangerous and much more serious. Meanwhile, Iran is preparing as much as it can, and as I said in my today's first update in that Walk and Talk video. According to reports, Tehran and Beijing are close to finalize deal on SCM 302 anti-ship missiles. Information is coming from Reuters. These CM 302 missiles have a range of around 290 kilometers. Not very long range, but nevertheless still something. And these are designed to strike surface targets. It's a high-speed and low-altitude flight profile are intended to penetrate naval air defenses by reducing reaction time and complicating interception. These missiles are enough to strike on a significant portion of the Persian Gulf, of course, but definitely not enough to strike U.S. naval assets that are stationed some 700 miles away, and 700 miles are like 1,000 kilometers. 1 mile is almost 2 kilometers, isn't it? 1.7 or 1.8. So Iran will need something much more serious with a far greater range to target the U.S. aircraft carrier, for example. Maybe they have some. Maybe they have something. And also, there is a maritime drones, isn't it? There is maritime drones. You can send those maritime drones there, and wait for a week or two before they will reach certain area. Then just direct it towards enemy warship. We will see. We will see what Iran is capable of, because this time around, I don't think it's going to be a limited exchange of strikes between US and Iran. This time around, I think Tehran will strike back seriously. India's Prime Minister Modi arrived in Israel for a 2-day visit, and of course, this information will not go down well throughout the world. I don't know if New Delhi cares about it, but yes, not good, man. Not good. I know Indian military-industrial complex is cooperating with the Israeli military-industrial complex. There is some ties there, but to go to Israel to treat Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu with their friendliness and smile after what Israel did, come on, man. This is not good. I condemn this stuff, man. I condemn when Russian president speaks with Netanyahu. I really wish he would completely cut ties with that individual. And I will say the same about Indian leadership. Just stay away, man, from that entity until there will be demilitarization, full scale, and denazification. Then, everyone probably will be welcome to establish good relationships with that new country, new entity. But right now, I don't know, man. I don't know. Bad optics, clearly. But yet again, maybe New Delhi don't care, and not maybe, they clearly don't, isn't it? Otherwise, why would Modi go there? And what should the Iranians think about it? What should the Iranians think about it? I can see, from Indian side, some comments that, well, Modi is on diplomatic trip to, move sides closer towards each other to avoid the confrontation. But you really think Modi, with all due respect, is in a position to influence either US or Israel? Seriously? Nah. And that's why very many people will don't understand what is this. This morning, dear friends, I reported about Turkish Air Force's F-16 fighter jet that crashed and killed their pilot after the takeoff. And this evening, we have another report about another F-16 that crashed on the other side of the world, this time around in South Korea. And so report says that South Korean Air Force's F-16C crashed during the training flight from Cheongju Air Base. Korean pilot managed to safely eject, but plane was, of course, finished. And this is 2 F-16 crashes in one day. Quite something. Or maybe many countries that are operating with F-16s will ground those planes for some additional checkup, because God knows what is going on with these planes, man. And we should keep in mind the F-16 is extremely old plane now, isn't it? It was a good 4th generation fighter jet. Still is quite okay. 4th gen fighter jet, especially latest variations of it are very, very much capable ones, right? But yes, South Koreans, who knows what kind of F-16 South Korea is operating and others, right? This plane that crashed well, might be like 40 years old or something. When it comes to Air Force, when it comes to fighter jets, I want to share with you this information that India seeks Su-MKI aircraft upgrade. So Indian Air Force is looking to upgrade a large number of Sukhoi Su-30 MKI aircraft with the Russian assistance. New Indian Express reported on Wednesday MOOCOM's plans to procure fifth-generation stealth fighter. Russia's Sukhoi Su-57 has reportedly emerged as the top contender. The Indian Air Force proposed the plan to upgrade its Su-MKI fighters under the Super Sukhoi program is waiting for a nod from their cabinet ministers on security, according to the report. The Super Sukhoi upgrader proposal is limited to 84 planes. The Indian Air Force is seeking another means of upgrading the rest of its fleet of Su-MKI jets, and they have around 135 of those, right? 175 of those planes. I think India has most of their Su-30 planes, by the way, more than Russia. I think they have more Su-30s than we do, right? And these planes were produced in India, by the way, under the license. So, they purchased, they produced as many as they wanted. And there are many experts in the field of military aviation are agreed that Su-30 probably is one of their best descendants of their Su-27 program, one of the most capable flankers, basically, out there. And this is flanker family, isn't it? All this everything from Su-27 and upwards, all of them are flanker family, and there are many experts are arguing that Su-30s actually are one of the best, especially in terms of their multi-role capabilities, right? And it has 2 pilots, by the way. It makes, of course, much easier to fulfill this multi-role purpose of the plane, while, let's say, Su-35, Russian Su-35, is piloted by one pilot, and of course, in certain circumstances, one crew member may be overwhelmed with the tasks, right? While 2 pilot crew will continue to operate, right? So yes, great planes, and they're going to become even greater after this Super Sukhoi upgrade program. And I remind you, dear friends, although as an air dominance fighter, of course, Su-35 is more capable. As a multi-role fighter, Su-30 and Su-35, some might argue, are on the same level. Maybe Su-30s are actually more capable as a multi-role fighter jets, but as an air dominance fighter, Su-35 probably is the best fighter jet from fourth generation, 4++ generation. There is nothing better than Su-35 if you want to intercept, if you want to win air-to-air fight. From 4++ generation, right? I would not say that Su-35 is better than or more capable than F-22, for example, of US. But in the close range fight, if it's not a BVR, if it's not a beyond visual range, if it's a dogfight actually, or not necessarily with the guns, but let's say with short range missiles, when you are in a visual range, I don't think F-22s have much chances against Su-35s. It's just too freaking maneuverable, man. It can do some stuff that no other plane, with the exception of Su-57, can. And when it comes to Su-57, earlier I reported, you friends, that there are talks, according to Indian media, that New Delhi is about to purchase 40 Russian Su-57 fighter jets, which is a good news, of course. I spoke about it in my previous updates. And if deal goes through, I think Russia will transfer licensed production of their Su-57s to India, as it was done with in case of Su-30. So 40 planes will be purchased from Russia, and the rest of the planes, maybe 100 or God knows how many that India wants, will be produced under the Russian license in India. With cooperation with the Russian aerospace industry, obviously, because there are certain components that can be built right now by Indian aerospace forces, and there are certain components of the planes that India cannot produce for now. So that there will be, of course, technology transfer and everything, but nevertheless, there will be always some parts of the plane that will be delivered from Russia. In any case, both sides gonna benefit from this cooperation. Let's hope this deal will go through. Let's hope for that. And if so, I wouldn't be surprised at all if India will be first country to receive a Russian S-500 air defense system. As a bonus, by the way. It would not be a gift, obviously. India will have to pay for it. But India might be first country, with the exception of Russia, obviously. First foreign country, let's say, which will have a S-500, which is clearly, I mean, best ever air defense system based on open sources. It's something extraordinary. It can destroy literally everything that flies, including in space, not just in atmosphere, but including in space, by the way. So truly something extraordinary that S-500 is. Few more news, dear friends. German Chancellor Merz met with Chinese President Xi Jinping today, and well, probably were begging for some money, some investments from China to help its economy. We will see. What kind of results this visit of Merz in China will have. Maybe China will invest, maybe not. It's a risky stuff, isn't it, nowadays, to invest in the Western world, because you never know when your assets going to be confiscated and stolen. So Chinese leadership, Chinese businesses probably will think twice before they will actually invest in European jurisdiction, let's say, or their collective West jurisdiction, generally speaking. And when it comes to economical stuff, by the way, today Russian Prime Minister was in the parliament answering the questions of Russian MPs. And I can give you some of their statements from him. So Russia's GDP in 2025, according to Mikhail Mishustin, increased by 1%, and over the past 3 years by 10%, which is impressive, isn't it? Quite impressive, by the way, given the fact that Russia is under 31,000+ sanctions from collective West. The unemployment rate in Russia is at 2.2%, and the situation in the labor market is stable. The minimum wage in Russia from 2026 has risen to 27,000 rubles, which has affected more than 4.5 million residents of the country. And I can tell you, by the way, 27,000 rubles is nothing. This is a minimal wage, but this is, I mean, this is very low. Minimum wage should be at least twice higher. But unfortunately, for now, that's the numbers there. And in dollars, if you are interested, currently exchange rate. So let's check the exchange rate, by the way. Do I have a Commerçant newspapers page here? Maybe God will have a exchange rates. No. Okay, let me check on the Commerçant. They should have. Yes, they do. So let's do it like that. So you can see here the difference. Exchange rate between ruble and dollar is 76 ruble for $1 and 90 rubles for €1. And so in case of dollar, 27,000 will be like $400 or something. Yeah, approximately $400 minimal wage. Really low, of course. This number should be at least twice higher, but it is what it is. It is what it is. Almost 100,000 people were able to move out of the emergency housing last year. According to World Bank Index, Russia in 2025 entered the group of leaders in the digitization of government technologies. The social protection system in Russia continues to be improved. Maternity capital is regularly indexation is happening regularly, and the targeted assistance is provided to families. Maternity capital is a special program here in Russia, by the way, that is encouraging families to have more and more kids. I don't know exactly what sum is now, but it must be the 700,000 rubles or 900,000 rubles that is given to family when they have a kid. I think it's 700,000, right? And more kids you have, this number of state support is increasing, right? And government does whatever I mean, maybe they can do some more, but they really are doing quite a lot actually to incentivize families, young families, of course, to have more and more kids, right? There is a certain work done to incentivize young people to get together to create families, right? But unfortunately, in terms of demography, Russia still is facing big trouble, serious issues, right? So I guess even more needs to be done to encourage young people to create families and also to have more babies, right? Free and more. But it is a huge responsibility, isn't it? And therefore, the state assistance is definitely comes handy. But I guess still young generation still afraid, by the way, still afraid. Maybe as one of the ways how we can achieve better results is to begin social housing and to give for free, by the way, to give housing to young families. Maybe that will help, right? Because rent is expensive, man. Rent costs quite a lot, and not everyone has either their own home, their own flat, or not everyone can afford to pay rent, right? So this social housing stuff definitely has to be developed, man. Definitely as one of the ways to further encourage people to create families, to have more and more kids. Also, Mishustin stated that high-tech medical care has become more accessible to Russians thanks to modernization of their primary healthcare system. Remote monitoring devices have already been provided to 1.5 million patients with diabetes, circulatory diseases, and others. And he also said that Russia is launching the production of Tu 214 aircraft, civilian aircraft, and he had many more statements, by the way. I just shared some. And yeah, all good, of course. But there is always ways to improve the things, right? To move forward, and hopefully more will be done. And this is it, by the way, for now. This is it for now, and I hope you find a new segment informative and useful. There was no super chat on Rumble. There was no super chat on Rumble. There was no questions, no comments through PayPal or Boosty. And so, yes, nothing to really add to that. Hopefully you like the video, you like the new segment, and if so, please click that like button. Might be very helpful. Of course, leave some commentary once stream ends. Share your opinion, what you make of my work, my live stream here. And if you want to support your friends, and your support is extremely important, because this project is completely subscriber funded, and lately, I mean, I will say as it is, man. I do face this project, let's say, faces some significant financial issues, and yes, if you appreciate my work, if you want to help me maintain this project, you can support and donate through PayPal, through Boosty. You can subscribe to my Patreon page, by the way, or page on Boosty. And during the streams, there is, of course, this super chat feature on Rumble. But yeah, today and yesterday, no one used it. So, okay, this is it for now. Have a wonderful day, and take care. Bye.